Come and get started on a new mission, a new direction, a new intention. Welcome to 5.8G Alive at Connections 50 Plus. I am Terry-Ann Joseph Brathwaite.
And I am Jennifer Gibbons Joseph, catering to all your prospects in the third act of life.
Economic well-being, social gratification, personal fulfillment.
Join us on Wednesday at 6 p.m. on Connections 50 Plus Facebook page, YouTube channel,
and on Gael the Caribbean.
Good evening and welcome viewers to Connections 50 Plus 5.8G Alive program. I'm Terry-Ann Joseph Brathwaite, one of the creators of Connections 50 Plus, which is bringing you 5.8G Alive. And with me as usual.
Hi, good evening. I'm Jennifer Gibbons Joseph, the other co-creator of Connections 50 Plus. Welcome.
Well, Jennifer, people are saying, well, it's about time. Where were you all? Repeat after repeat after repeat.
You scared them a bit, huh?
Yes.
Because I have calls and messages coming to me asking me if I'm okay, what is happening, So they thought maybe I wasn't well and that's why. But it's not so. I'm good.
I was on a small vacation and we just decided to take a break. And one of the benefits of being on air for 6 years is that there's so many interesting programs we can go back to and really, So, Jennifer, we are starting back with a bang, and our last repeat looked at turning points. And this really coincided with something that we have both been talking about, looking around at our colleagues, our friends, and realizing that while Connections 50 Plus is about transition and the 3 stages, not many of us are having a difficulty going through our own transitions.
Oh, yes. Things changing so fast, Terry-Ann. You may plan and decide to do something today, and by the next day, something happens. And as you see, we also affected by international news, what's happening overseas. For instance, you plan this holiday, and if your timing wasn't right, next thing you know, you may not have even been able to go because so many things are being changed, So, yes. We have to prepare, I would say, our mindset. We really have to have that very strong mindset to deal with the fast changes that are happening around us.
Yeah. And we will talk about something, but we'll also act. And this is so critical that we've decided to do a 2 or 3 for 1. We are bringing back an old colleague, Maureen Bowen, psychologist, to talk about this issue. And we're actually going to have this show in 2 parts because there's so much to talk about.
Oh, yes.
In addition, Jennifer, in addition to the 2 parts of the show, the 3rd part is going to be a forum.
Yes, because, previously all our forums, we did this. We had, certain topic areas. We had the experts coming on as guests, and then we followed by a forum. Because the information as shared is so important. And then you will get calls, some people saying, they wish they had more, they wish they could have called in, etc. But the best way to do this is for us to have small group forums where you all can actually interact with the subject expert, with the professional, and really get your life moving the way you want it to. So I am happy that we are doing this with Maureen because Terry-Ann, this is real critical now.
Yeah.
How are we to navigate on this stage?
Good. We're changing with Tamils. So let's get straight into it. Part 1 of a 2-part series on how are we aging? How are we dealing with the reality of what's going on? So enjoy. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. As we said at the start, we are so happy to have as our guest Maureen Joanne Bowen. You all are familiar with her. She's been here before. We've had forums, we've done all kinds of things with Maureen, our psychologist. And so we would get into the meat of the matter. So, Maureen, Jen and I have been going through all kinds of things, as you know, and people are talking to us. And this rubber is meeting the road with our aging process or our transition process. And as you know, Jennifer says, you hit 60, things start to happen, 65, 70, 75. All kinds of things happen into your system. And I could give stories about. And one of the things that people are saying, people are becoming concerned. They're becoming some distressed, some worried. So, we said, let's bring in the pros. And as a general opening, Maureen, what is happening to us?
Right. So, good afternoon to the audience, the listening audience, and also good afternoon, ladies. As usual, you have co-opted somebody who is also in the tribe to talk to members of the tribe. So that's fantastic, even though I don't look it. But yes, I form part of the tribe. So what's happening to us is that we have to learn now how to advocate for ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's a very difficult task because um, for a lot of us, we became reliant on significant other children, parents, even our workspace, our workmates, colleagues, and they all seem to be abandoning. They're not abandoning, but in fact, people going on to live their own lives,
Yeah.
as well as one of the frightening things. I don't know, for some people it's frightening, and yeah, for me too, it's frightening. The fact that the years behind us are far greater than the ones that we have ahead. And so this kind of conversation, while difficult, is necessary. We have got to, and listen to me, we're not showing any judgment here. What we're doing is opening the landscape for all different aspects of our audience to get a sense of um, these are some of the challenges that are going to come our way, and certainly healthy discussion would lead to people making the appropriate choices for them. And I want to say that because I want to open my arena by telling you I'm no authority on anything because I'm struggling too and I'm trying to find my way as well. But I feel that there's safety in numbers. And I know for a fact that there's health in us discussing the tough issues and certainly getting other people's views and opinions that would help us. We don't all have to fail for somebody to win.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
Right? So I'm hoping that in this two-part discussion, because of course, this kind of discussion is not one that you could just say, okay, in half an hour we finish, or an hour or whatever. It's a two-part discussion. And also, I want you to be aware from the onset that we are going to provide an opportunity for people who want to do one-on-ones and to get into more detail. And of course, your moderators will give you information about that, but it's something that we've discussed and it is necessary that persons who, after hearing this discussion, need to fine tune what is necessary for them and how they intend to traverse this landscape. We are going to provide the individual opportunity in a safe, confidential space for those types of discussions to take place.
Yeah.
So I'll hand it over to you, ladies, again, to open the playing field for us, and certainly I will support the discussion as best as I can.
Maureen, I'm glad and we agreed with the two-part because there's so many different issues that to be covered. And yes, to be covered in two parts. So we're starting with part one, yes. But could you just, in terms of the two-part series, what would we focus on in this
Right.
first part?
So now first go around, we all agreed, and it's true. We need to talk about our mental health. We need to talk
Yeah.
about our emotional health. We need to talk about relationships. We need to talk about advocacy, and we need to talk about our placement. Who are we? How do we manage things? How do we represent ourselves? How are people able to understand our conversation? Because for a lot of us at this age, we're very confused and confusing, to say the least. So we have to have some conversations around that. Are we saying what we mean? Are we meaning what we're saying? And certainly some of our fears, because um, aging is it's something that could challenge a lot of your norms and the narratives from childhood and those different things, right? Even it could question some of the choices and decisions you've made throughout your life. So we'll first start with that today. And as we become more confident and more safe and more secure, we will then talk about the all of the legal issues and the things that people should really be looking at and advocating for. And when I say legal, I am not um, interjecting or trying to say that I am legalistic or I know the law or whatever. We're not talking about that. We're talking about where you go, what you're looking for, how you will find what you're looking for, how you'll be able to properly represent yourself when you have those conversations, right?
Yeah.
As well as we will talk about finances. Finances is an important and an integral part in decision making. And finally, us really coming to terms, breaking the cycle of denial and coming to terms with the fact that we have a voice and we have to learn how to use our voice to represent ourselves. Even if the whole world disagrees with what we're saying, we certainly could put things in place, and more than put things in place, actually walk our talk and know specifically what we're about and what we want and what we need and how to execute, so that when we hand over the baton, the people who have to execute don't even have to think. They just have to
Yeah.
execute.
Maureen, I would like you to start first with us accepting aging, accepting the fact that we are seniors, if I may say that, because I find talking to many people, even myself, in terms of recognizing, hey, I'm at this stage in life, and I've now reached in the 70s, and I am seeing. I look back, I thought I accepted the fact that, okay, I reached this stage, but somehow, like, instead of being more comfortable with the aging, like, I'm getting more scared.
Right? Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so I just want them to put that out there and see how can we handle this reality of yes, we are at this stage.
Yeah.
But
Jennifer,
Karen, how you manage aging?
can I put one more added on to that? Because I think we've discussed a lot the concept of fear, and afraid of aging, and as we go through the different stages, you go into your 60s, you go into your 70s, you go into the 80s, things change. And if I could make this thing a bit more concretized in terms of what is causing the fear, what I'm finding, and Jennifer, you could tell me if
Yeah,
I'm
that's fine.
perhaps on the right track. Things are falling apart. Things that were clear, or you were pretty sure 3 years ago, or 4 years ago, or 2 years ago, suddenly falling apart. Whether it is people outright die and go who you expected to continue to be your friend and your partner going along, whether it is the economic situation that may have been shaky 3 years ago, whether it's the change in the politics of the whole world, people are unsure about tomorrow. They're unsure about incomes and inflation and all kinds of stuff. So things that you thought you could do, people you thought you could rely on, your own body betraying you, the knees, the back, your mind lapsing, it's going haywire. So, you know, for me, 3 years ago, I would have been 59 going into 60. And 3 years hence, I am like, why I forgot that? Why I can't do this? What's wrong with these knees? What's wrong with these things? And the trajectory, you assume that people would go on. The distance you think the money could reach, it's not reaching. And Jennifer uses the word fear. I use the word a creeping anxiety. And it seems, that's why I say it seems as though things are falling apart. And Jennifer, is that a good taking it further in depth in terms of the point that you've been making?
I would say yes, because actually, as I said, I thought I was always prepared and ready and facing situation and a good, if you ask me, I say, yeah, I'm good in this retirement. I put things in place, but I realized that it's an ongoing situation. And as you say, we may have all good intentions, whether the family, we may have done all the plans, and in the first 3 years, let's say those, in the first 3 years of your transition, whether you're going at 50, 60, whatever time, that you say, okay, this is it. I am now have to live a different life. So many things happen within the families, within your personal life, you know, and I like to use myself, for instance. You know, I got about exercising and I'm watching it to eat and did this, and I figured I did what I had to do for the children. And I know I heading for the 70s, but I feel good. Bam, you know, it's something might happen within the family structure that throw you off completely. Illness throw you off completely. And you have to be, for me, we have to be prepared for all these things that could just unexpected, all the things that could come at you. So for me, dealing with it is accepting all the time, okay, I have to keep reminding myself, this is aging, this could happen, you know, and as something else happen, I would say, how am I dealing with it? So I agree, it could be the economy, what is happening around your family crisis within yourselves, accepting that your age, you're having wrinkles, you're not looking as you thought you should look, you get too small, you get too big, you can't walk again, you have to walk with a stick. You know, so yeah, so I see it as ongoing transition journey, but we want it to be nice and smooth and without any sort of not rocky, but it's not that nice and smooth right through. So
right. So life is what you make it. That's a cliche that we all hear, right?
yeah.
Let's label all of this conversation under 3 umbrellas.
Okay.
One for sure would be change, and right? The other one would be loss of control.
Yep.
And the third one would be consistent inconsistencies.
I love that.
Let's lock the discussion into those 3 umbrellas.
Is key.
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
So for most of us, first of all, I think part of the challenge is, I mean, for me, I always say that sometimes I think that I've outlived my usefulness, because I am from the industrial age and now we're in the technological age. And you saw my challenge, both of you saw my challenge today. Simple things. If my son was here, I wouldn't have that problem, right? And for me, I've gotten to the place where I don't know how to do it. Um, so I need help, and I have to ask for the help, right? No, asking for the help is one thing, but it's the way that people interpret you asking for the help could create real pain for you, that could put you in a place where you don't want to ask for the help. So,
Yeah.
these younger people, something as simple as that, you can't do, oh God, how many times I will tell you how to do that, whatever, and of course, the way our brain is wired, we go right away into power, control, and dominance. I'm the elder. You can't talk to me like that. It's because of me you have that education and all that amount of knowledge, and you think. You see, but I am the one who spend all my money and help you to reach where you reach, and now you want to abuse, quote unquote, abuse me. Um, so therefore, the level of thinking would determine the type of conversation that we would have, and more importantly, it would determine how how we feel, right? Because a lot of people, every time I talk to people, they say, "You make me feel," and I said, "No, you choose to feel like that. Nobody makes you feel. You have to identify why you choose to feel like that. I cannot take control of your feelings." Right? And if you explain to me that you don't like certain things or you want things done in a particular way, I will respect that. But it doesn't deny me the opportunity to tell you of other options that I may want to engage in, or things that I think would certainly support your agenda. You don't have to agree,
Yeah.
but we could discuss, right? So that's the first thing. The other thing, too, that we have to talk about as well is, so control is one thing. The second thing that we will talk about as well is the fact that a lot of us have not really thought about the next stage,
Yeah.
right? But for me, it's a surprise that I reach it. I don't know, and I feel, and when I talk to my friends, and we've had 50 years of friendship. We have a group of 15 of us, 50 or nearly 40 of us, 15 years of 50 years of friendship. And whenever we meet, we like to talk about what went. We don't talk about what happening now. And
Yeah.
if you make the mistake to say, but why you have a stick? Perish the thought. Or but I never thought you would get great. Perish the thought.
Yeah.
Or hearing, have you ever thought about getting a hearing test? Perish the thought. Right? You get on the negative list, people get defensive, people
Yes.
start to label you, and there's a lot of gaslighting, you feel you're better than whatever. So we have that type of conversation. Then consistent inconsistencies are things that we've seen happen to others, but we think it would happen to everybody and it wouldn't happen to us. And even in our families and even in our friendships and stuff, we may have supported a lot of people who would have gone through those situations. But as you said, Jennifer, you eat right, you exercise, you do your yoga, your sauna, you don't stress yourself out. You don't expect to be in that quadrant. But here you are, and you're like, well, how I get so lucky? Why me? And then all of a sudden, too, you lose your sense of empowerment and your sense of grace, and you start to have your pity parties and feel sorry for yourself, and you isolate yourself while in fact you needed to be more communicative, more engaging, more outgoing, more direct, more there,
Yeah.
present, right? A lot of us become very absent. We're physically present, but emotionally and spiritually absent. So that's where all of this fear is tied to, because lots of things are happening. And while we speak with our mouths about being prepared, when we actually face with the situation, we recognize how not prepared we are, and how lost, and how quote unquote afraid. But I think it's more than being afraid, it's being vulnerable.
Yeah. Maureen,
Yeah.
can I ask you to go more deeply into something that I am finding and getting very annoyed with conversations. That point you made, where it is so easy for us to talk about yesterday and what used to be, and just not talk about now, and definitely not tomorrow. What fundamentally causes us to not do that? And I know it is fear, but what is
Yeah.
the thing? What's under that fear?
Well, it's a resistance to acknowledging the truth. Each of us have our own truths, right? And in a lot of instances, while
You're
we could
saying we
speak other,
resisting acknowledging the truth, all right?
correct, yeah, so that we could speak everybody else's truth. We could tell them what is the truth. The children, grandchildren, friends, well
Friends,
wishers, right? But in terms of us, um, we just don't see through our looking glass who we are now, right? So, I'll tell you a simple thing. There are some people who refuse to look in a mirror. When you ask them to look at the man in the mirror and tell me what you see, what nonsense, what psychobabble, what foolishness. Well, I know who I am already. That is not what I'm asking. I that's not what I'm asking. I'm asking you to actually look at yourself currently and see where the gaps are, and what kind of support you will require, and more importantly, what kind of support you could lend to others. Because for a lot of people, we make up numbers, but in terms of actually being able to support, we can't support because we don't identify, right? So um, that's why people don't want to talk about today, because as we discussed too, the years we have ahead. And so if we don't have any kind of proper planning, and we just continue to live in the past, then those years will just disappear. And ultimately what happens happens, and it will be somebody else's problem, not ours. So that for a lot of us, these kinds of difficult conversations create real problems for us. We continue to try to fix everybody, rather than work on ourselves. Because, and the other thing, Terrian, is that women were never socialized to take care of themselves. Our socialization was always to take care of the whole world.
The family and everybody else.
Your husband, everybody. And it gave us meaning and a sense of purpose. And according to my son, he says, it gives you relevance. But I don't need you like that anymore. And that's a kind of need you kind of thing. How you mean? Well, what you need me for? My money, right? And I mean, the first thing I'll go to is finance, and he'll say, "But I make more money than you do." So that's not the issue. The issue is, what do you think that I need you for, and what can you continue to fulfill in my life? So when you are no longer here, I will have all those memories and everything else to be able to hold on to until we meet again. But when you have those discussions, people say that you're being gaudy, and you're being very negative, and you're bringing all kind of thing into the conversation. But those are the conversations that are real to where we are today. And interestingly enough, as I said, it's real for everybody, because the minute you're born, you can die. So it's not a question of because of how we've aged or because of our ages. As a matter of fact, it's a blessing that we continue to be to be here and to be allowed to age, but it's how we choose to age.
You know, Maureen, that changing the conversation, as they say now, changing the narrative. For those of us who may understand that is needed, and who, as Sarah may say, we're frustrated with going back. We want to come together and discuss how we're moving forward with the challenges that facing us. But how, it's not easy because you tend to feel like you're in a minority when you're in that group, when you're among your friends. And again, because many of us tend to be judgmental, people are very self-conscious. Like if you reach this stage that you think, okay, I have to use a walking stick or may have to do X, Y, and Z, you prefer not go out for fear of being, judged. And they might say, okay, you now reach this age and you walking with a stick already, or some comment is made to make people feel, that person might feel uncomfortable. So you think about it, how for our cohort to change that narrative, to start to look more forward.
My thing is, first of all, one of the things that we have to come to terms with is that whatever we have left, we're not living that for anybody but ourselves.
Okay.
Right? Because at the end of the day, nobody knows what you are feeling. You are the only one who knows what you're feeling. You are the only one who understands what's going on with you. I mean, like, many times people will ask you how you feel. Young people do it well, normal. And if you go and you say, well, okay, well, what is your definition of normal? They do have a definition, normal, right? So even as we age, whereas other people may not want to identify with that conversation, we have to be loud enough to say, look, this is what is going on. Because some of the people who remain silent, in fact, need that support and need that validation and need to hear that somebody advocating or somebody at least speaking up, even though they're not saying anything and they may not support what you have to say. But yeah, you have to start to build a resilience and a kind of confidence and a sense, like a wall around you that says, this is my story. I'm writing my own story. This is how I feel. This is how I feel. Right? The second thing is that the other thing I would like to say too is that I don't know. I want to find the politically correct way to say this, because I could go off color. I'll ask a question. Why is it so important to you what other people think?
This is the point that I was just going to ask.
Why?
I'll take you out of the hole by just going in. I'll take you out of the hole. Why is it so important to us to have that story, our current story, be a sad story that others have to come to our rescue? And that's how I will phrase it.
Yeah, no, you're correct. You're correct.
Finding a lot of us all of a sudden have become, in not completely 100%, but in a lot of areas of our lives, powerless and needing to have someone come to do a rescue. And sometimes it looks to me like attention grabbing. It looks to me like neediness. And I think my little theory is that we're so proud and not wanting to say, I can't, I need help. We prefer to go into all kind of roundabout to entrap people into coming to deal with us, and we become annoying. And I don't think that is it's not necessary. So what is it that stops us from just saying, listen, I need help with this right now, but instead you want to manipulate people and make people
Or
feel sorry
pretend,
for you and
or pretend.
pretending and that kind of thing, you know, and
It's
it's
called codependent Terian. Let me tell you, a
where
lot
that
of
come
people
from?
fear, and it's an innate sense of loss of community, right? Because when we grew, the village raised a child, and we all grew in an extended community. If you look at communities today, communities are very constricted, and they because of, again, people migration,
Many of
death,
us are
illness,
alone. We
and many of us are,
physically and
and the thing
mentally alone.
exactly, and that's where that comes from. Because if if you show that you are alone but not lonely, you run the risk of nobody paying attention to you, because they say, "What she good? Is
You're
she
good.
all right?"
Because
Everything, she handling her stories. When she stop handling, well, then we will somebody, and they always have this fictitious somebody. I don't know who this somebody is. God alone knows. That's why parents, for example, don't make wills, don't do a trust, but keep fighting, having try and fight against one another. Use the best child, use the bad child, use the this child, because they want to continue to hold on to their support network and their support mechanism, not knowing, in fact, that they're frustrating the hell out of these people, and the people coming out of duty rather than out of care and concern and love. And so this is why I'm saying that we have to have these conversations. So people have to wake up and realize that the environment they create is the one they created. It's not
yeah,
nobody else's fault, and it's not because of this and because of that and because of the other. Because will always exist even after you're gone. But you of yourself have to recognize, if you want certain things, you have to get up and get it and work for it and put it in place and make it happen with the support when you need it, and also just you of yourself, so that you have a sense of ownership, you have a sense of empathy, you have a sense of accountability, you have a sense of authenticity. All of those things are things that generate who you are and what you're about and why you should be how you're supposed to be.
Why is that so frightening? Why is that so frightening for so many of us to
It's hard work.
do for ourselves?
It's hard work. And remember, we come out of a narrative where we did for everybody else. So we think we're entitled to people doing for us now. So how the hell they could abandon? They could abandon, because everything anybody ever, and I say it too, I say to get my parents and bury them and da 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 da. Nobody asked me. The first time I heard my son say, but nobody asked you. If you didn't do it,
yeah.
somebody else had to do it. They didn't come here to turn stone. So why you think that that's a trophy that you want to carry? And that's not an entitlement that I will see. Anybody will do that for you. And if you want certain things, you better put it in writing. And I mean, it was thing he said, well, go by clock and battle and sort out yourself and say whatever it is you want and whatever. I'll pay for it. But on that day, I don't even think that I'll be able to talk or whatever. And it's something that I thought about too. And I said, you know what? I don't want anybody writing no eulogy. I'll do a video and I will just talk for myself and cuss up plenty people there and say, "What you sitting down here crying for? Because really, you shouldn't be here. This is not your space." But continue, continue. Those kind of things. But people don't have that wherewithal and steadfastness, and that's what we have to get. That is what we have to get, in spite of how it looks to anybody else.
Because Maureen, we came off a stage where how it looked made a big difference. It was about status, it was about we in charge, we control, things working out our way, etc. And when you reach the new stage that you have to face the truth that either not needed no more, you're looked at differently, you're looked at old and your time pass and things. If we don't face that truth, then we still hiding,
But
we
is
hide.
it true?
Huh?
is it true that you're old and your time pass?
I'm
Or
just
is
saying
our
how
behavior causing us to be defined like that?
it may not be true, but in some
But
people's
it is
mind,
not true. It is not true.
it is not
And
true.
the,
But
and the thing is that we have to stop hiding behind the shadows of what we think people will accept or tolerate.
right. So Maureen, that is a whole chain. Again, you may say and I agree it's not true. But in many people's mind, they're telling themselves that is it. Because that is what they have been, I wouldn't even say taught.
That's what
Because
they're escaping to. That's what they're escaping to.
That's what they're
To
escaping
hide.
to.
right.
And
So
it's almost like people didn't recognize that. And that's what I'm telling you. We just don't recognize that this thing is upon us. And now we have to, there are certain things that we have to do differently and a certain way in which we have to embrace life as it is. For a lot of us, life as it is very difficult because in our 20s, 30s, 40s, we were designing a particular kind of life that didn't include all these things that happening now.
so now it calls for Maureen, for change to happen, we need one, and we start in the conversation. And I see it now very, very important for us to take that action. And to take that action, we have to be within a forum with a professional like yourself to give guidance. If it is too much for us, then we have to accept that, hey, we need more one-on-one as against a small group. So that to me is the action, because we may have our head in our heads. It's one thing. We're not really happy. You're not happy with how things going, and you find yourself stuck as to what is the next step. And yeah, so I happy for us with this conversation with you, and for our cohort to know, hey, that's not the end. You can't give up. There is, we're on a path, we're in transition. We have to admit it's new to us and we need help. And to get that help, we have to be truthful.
Yeah. You know, yeah. We also have, and Maureen, I'm putting a scenario to you to help, because I encounter people and I really think they're totally oblivious to their manipulative behavior. I think they do not understand what they are doing, why they're irritating children, why they are causing friends to stay away from them. I think they just don't know, because probably the fear of all right, I'm beyond, we say retirement really starts 5 years after you leave the stage, because there's the first 5 years, the 60 to 65, where
Yeah.
you still somebody calling you doing stuff across the 65 and the silence is deafening.
Yeah.
And they don't know when they start the manipulations. Maureen, could you identify some of the behaviors that we engage in that would relate, that would say, you are not taking control of yourself. You're not taking control of your world. You're trying to get other people in. And I want to suggest one. It's when we start talking about what someone should, based on our expectations, and seemingly totally oblivious to that person's issues and where they are in life. Is that a valid?
Yes. 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 Um. That is really valid because again, you're deflecting and you're looking outside in, but you ain't looking at yourself in the mirror again, right?
Yeah.
The other thing too is this constant complaining. That I just don't get it.
Nothing is
My
right.
back hurting,
Nothing
there's this
good.
thing. I wanted to write. I can't remember the number. Uh, it's just like and none of them linked to anything.
And sudden
They say, well,
incompetence, sudden incompetence. I
all of
can't
a
do this.
sudden, you know, you
Can't do that.
know how to do everything. Now don't know how to do nothing. You know, and you know, well, and we love to put and it's the labels too. That's the other thing that has kept me going and coming. These labels. You know, what's the definition of aging? What's the definition of pain? Was it, you know, because I mean, people all your life you've experienced pain to different degrees. And there's something about it. The other thing is the this whole thing about socializing and socialization. You know, you're getting 100 million invitations, but you can't go. I don't drive any night. I have nobody to drop me. I don't have anything to wear. You know, gosh, I did that so many times. Then what you upset when nobody calls you to invite you anyway? How long you went and nobody invited me? You see? Right? And also even things like what to eat. I never knew what to eat was such a big problem in the whole universe. If I eat this, a burping. If I eat that, a thing. You know, I'm tired of eating this, and well, there are very many options. That's a good place to start because you have YouTube that show you all kind of things. You have your cookbooks. You have, you know, there's a whole mental. You can make a mental shift because your diet has changed, and work with your body and work with a nutritionist and work with um a colleague or whatever it is, a friend, a family member, but you bring 100 million things before them and they don't want any. What do you think people will do? They will stop ringing. They will stop calling. They will stop asking you if you ate. They will, you know. So a lot of all that is, yes, you are right. For some people, it's attention seeking, but it's for other people. They just lost. They lost because unless you can determine your relevance to you, you can't understand your relevance in the grand scheme of things, right? And for some people too, if they're not first, they're not anything. I don't understand that at all. If they're not, and right away they're going to the labels. I was the PS, I was the this, I was the that, I run my own company, I da. What is the relevance of that to you in this stage of your life where you're at? You know, what does that do for you to help the quality of your life and to help you to be better at loving you, caring for you, looking after you, advocating for you? What does it do? Right? So in a lot of instances, Terry, and when you say they don't know, there are lots of people who do in fact know it, but what they're doing is pushing buttons to see what kind of responses they will get, and then they'll decide who's my friend, who's my best niece, who's my best child, because the person who taking all the crap and who facilitating and who sitting there patiently trying to get them to be their best self and to feel good about themselves, that person need help for themselves too. Because at some point you are going to be overwhelmed, and what those people do is that they first they distance, then they withdraw. Right? But the thing is, as I always say, in the distancing and withdrawing, I hope that people are looking at the scenario and recognizing that one day they will be in that position and they ought to do something different. But we don't. So you will find a repeat performance from generation to generation because it's learned behavior and that's accepted and that's the way they do things. And people say, well, when you get to that age, that's how you behave and that's just how it is. And that's the end of that. That's not how it is. That's how you choose to be.
Yeah.
Maureen, what about having open discussion, really deciding, okay, not only negative side, not only come to complain, but to share in terms of what is happening and maybe some of the fears, maybe some of your hopes and expectations. To persons who you feel could give that support to you when needed.
Right. So one of the things I'll always say to you, Jennifer, is that you would have had to build that relationship before for those kind of things to happen. That's why a lot of us in shit, because we were so busy building our careers and building everything else, and all that collapsed and gone to naught. And now we find like the tree stand alone, and we ain't never building. Half a we don't even have a building,
Yeah.
right? Because everything falling down around us. Good.
Mm-hmm.
It's not too late, however, and that is why I like your connections. Because I mean, even in connections, people don't really come out and say what is their truth and
Mhm.
discuss and say, well, hey, right, this my tribe, right? So
Yeah.
all of us in this together, and therefore, I might, I could get a little help, I could get some understanding, I could get some feedback. I mean, you could look at it like a lot of people listen to you, but people on YouTube don't click like, they don't
Yeah. They
subscribe,
say,
but they listen. They every week they write their present and accounted for,
yes.
waiting on the best thing to happen, and that's an example of the kind of deceit.
Yes.
And that is why people cannot identify with us, because if we don't know who we are, they can't know who we are either. We present this image, this smoke screen
Mm-hmm.
of being what we used to be, or what we would like people to remember us
Yes.
as opposed to who we are. So when you say have an open discussion, you have to first say, well, people are accustomed talking to you on that level. Like, we have open discussions because we talk on that level. And I mean, the other thing too is about um, paying attention to what people say. And I find that the way people converse today, people listen to respond, not to understand. So
Yeah.
half the time, hurry it around. They say about old people is ramble and it's talk too much and we want to get into definition. A lot of that has to do with the fact that nobody listens to you. So when you get an audience,
Yeah.
you
Just
can't stay
getting it
quiet.
out. You're getting out
Everything,
everything.
everything, everything, everything. Because you don't know when again you're going to be getting that, right? So that's something too that we certainly have to look at. And the other thing too is that you're saying about judgment, and that's something with us. We do not provide a safe space
Yeah.
where people, feel that it's okay, because I always say that. I mean, I'm in many groups, and in each group you have small groups. So they always have a sidebar when people want to engage in discussion that people see anything. I said, no, not me. Don't bring me in our canal at all. My name is, it's a call all my life. That's why I hear I bacchanalist and commercial. I too old now. I can't navigate that. You handle stories. And if you can't, then what I will do is bring those persons who you are challenged with or you want to have this conversation with, and we will have the conversation. But I don't see why the conversation can't be in the open forum because everybody there could benefit from what this conversation is. And if you don't want to do that, then exit stage left in the group. Don't be a party to just be taking.
Maureen, we've got about 10 more minutes of our discussion on this psycho-emotional part of it. And you said something just now that really strikes me. We are we refuse to support we refuse to support whether it's each other or what we choose to support is not really aligned to who we are, where we are. Sometimes I see that lack of support as a dig and manipulative, and sometimes I see it as fear. What is going on in our minds with this not supporting? Even if it is viewers who are looking at what we are doing here and refusing to subscribe because you don't want to be associated, but you know that this conversation is critical to you.
Right. So in a lot of instances, what happens there is that people don't want the spotlight to ever come on them, so that they stay in the crowd, right? But in the crowd, they still have an opinion, but it's not their opinion. Tongue says so, right? That
Yeah.
and that lots of people agree with this. This is a universal sort of way in which things are happening. But if you want to be authentic, and if it is you want people to be able to support you, then you have to claim your narrative, and you have to claim your story, and you have to be able to say, this is what I feel, this is how I think. And that's why a lot of people don't get the help that they need, as well as people wouldn't feel comfortable to be able to share with them. It's like people, for example, who you will ask if you have an opinion. Nobody ever has an opinion, but you go in the bathroom, they have an opinion. You go in the kitchen, they have an opinion. You're in the car. You see people for hours in a car park standing up talking about the very things that was being discussed in that open forum with everybody else, right? The other thing too is that people fear that their opinions don't matter and would not be respected. So, and that's a sense of lack of safety, right? Because I'll tell you, if you came out of a narrative where you never amount to nothing, you wouldn't be anything, nobody, and people shut you down. You ever notice that there are some people who speak over you and who don't identify with what you are sharing and your content and stuff like that? A lot of people do have the self-esteem and the self-worth to be able to transition and to zone out all of that negativity and toxin and still quietly intercede and say, no, this is how I feel, this is what I need, this is what I want. You may not agree with me, and my sharing has nothing to do with getting agreement or getting support or you even validating what I am saying, because this is not your experience, this is my experience. So what people do is they use silence as consent. But I always have a problem with people who are silent, because in my mind, they may not be vocal, but they are internalizing all of this information and creating a narrative in their head that could be destructive.
And Maureen, it will also mean in terms of their decision making.
Correct.
It would definitely affect their decision making.
And it would impede their opportunity for decision making. And also what it does too, it is that it allows too many people the opportunity to be able to carve a particular environment for you, even if you are resistant to that environment. So people think that, but she don't know how, and she don't, and he ain't say nothing. So obviously I will advocate for them, but nobody assign you that rule, right? We also don't spend time probing people's actions, reactions, and responses. We take it for granted that because of the age that we are at, we know what we're talking about. You see, when children are 5 years old and whatever, we know that they don't know, so we teach, coach, and guide. At this age, the fact that you can even verbalize that or vocalize that I don't know, people look at you like they look very strangely. I mean, you could ain't know politics, you could ain't know a song, but your life, you don't know. Something wrong with that. Yeah, but in fact, that is the first bell sounding that says, I need support, I need help, I need to have a safe environment for open discussion, and I need to hear from others who may have experienced something similarly, because no two people's experience are the same, it may be similar, and it will help me to understand how I'm feeling, what I need to do, where I need to go, that kind of thing. Yeah?
Maureen.
But we have to provide the safety network, and we don't.
And I want to say something it's come from one of the reasons that Jennifer and I started this whole thing. We are the first generation where so many of us had the opportunity to be professionally successful. so that the voices of childhood, yeah, they're there in the background, but we surmounted those on the professionals, whatever you did to earn your own money. Let me not say professional, because people will start to think degree and all kind of stuff like that.
Yeah.
We could have earned our own money doing whatever we wanted to. And we always say, a lot of us defined ourselves by what we did, not who we are.
Correct.
And having left that, whatever you did to make money and now you're on pension, reduced income, or you just have less capacity to do it at the level that you did it before, you therefore by definition are less or no more. And because that little child was told this and was told that, we probably don't have the tools to figure out who we are, which is why we have to come back to this set of manipulation and feel sorry for me and I can't do it and this and that and the other.
Dependency syndrome.
Yeah, but I have a hypothesis that we have the tools to find out who we are. And even if we have no clue, we could start to rebuild it because of experience. But we just so not controlled internally, but driven by what everybody else outside says, we dare not attempt. And I think that is the saddest thing that could happen. You're so afraid of embarrassment. Is that our position now? We're so afraid of embarrassment that we just collapsing into manipulative people or feel sorry for me people. Is that what's happening?
Yeah. I think for some people too, they say they're tired, but I say they're lazy.
Yeah.
Because the kind of investment that they would have done in their careers so that they could be visible, they're not willing to do it now in themselves so that they could be comfortable.
Or they feel entitled. They think somebody should be doing
entitled. Somebody else should be doing it.
You're lazy, you're entitled.
Exactly. And this is why, again, I say that what you ladies are doing is important, because people must have these one-on-one conversations with people who understand the narrative, because they walk in it, they live in it, they eat in it, they breathe in it. And to give them an opportunity for them to carve this niche out for themselves so they have a working template about how they move forward with their lives. We must have these one-on-one conversations. And I don't even think that these conversations are group conversations, because each of us are different places in our lives and different stages in our lives. Even though we may be in the same age group, we're not in the same place. So, those kinds of opportunities that you all are presenting for one-on-one conversation is vital to survival.
Yeah.
Vital to survival.
Yeah.
The other thing too is that for a lot of people as well, they continue to hear people say that they are the end. Like they tell us things. Well, they're not me. Nobody telling me that. But other people, things like, well, this is the end stage, so you should just be relaxing, and you should be, just why you wanted this and why you wanted that and why you wanted the other. And you need to be able to cuss up the tail and tell them the same reason you want to be, right? And I don't have to justify why I want to be, as long as I have breath and I am able to, and I am not dependent. I may be reliant, and that's the difference too, because a lot of people don't know the difference between reliance and dependence. I am not dependent on anybody. I may be reliant on certain people from time to time, and trust me, if you don't present, I will look at my options and alternatives to make it happen, because it's something that I would like to do, right? And again, it brings me back to what I've said before. We have to teach these skills, just like how you're teaching life skills.
If you want to be like that, go in the corner, be like that, but
by yourself,
dragging people with you.
Correct. But misery loves company.
Go in the corner.
And this is why I keep saying that we're not tired, we're lazy. Yeah. Because we have to be able to muster the energy and the wherewithal to, be the best version of ourselves at this stage of our lives. Because I don't think a lot of people recognize too, although young people have no concept of aging, because they always think that, like when I say I'm 68, people younger want to say so old, because in their mind they don't think that they could ever live to be 68. But
That age.
that to me is not a problem, because I intend to show, and I mean that's the thing that a lot of us not looking at too. We are still teachers.
Yeah.
We are big teachers, because we doing this in a real sense,
And we
because
teaching
nothing else is
nonsense with that bad
exactly
attitude. We
with that
teaching
attitude.
nonsense.
Exactly. And then we say, why are the young people the way they are? Because they learn it from us, right? So as teachers, we don't have nothing else to distract us no more. You're not babies, you have a job, you have a man, you have this, whatever it is that was distracted you. Now you could focus on you. So now is the time for you to teach the younger generation what quality life is.
What
And
resilience is. Yep.
what resilience is, what aptitude is and attitude is, right? What stick-to-itiveness is, what determination is. I mean, those are the people say those words, but those words really do define the strength and power of a human being. And that's a big job for us. Well, that's our job.
Maureen, I totally agree with you. Because when we do that and we send that message, we send any message that our life's not over,
Correct.
So they see us in a different light, and you get that respect, and don't
Correct.
feel that, okay, you're too old, so you cannot
Correct.
do things. So I totally agree with you. We have to lead the way when it comes to, we're on the third act stage, and we have to lead the way of how we like to be treated, how we treat ourselves, and how we would like to be treated.
Correct.
Ladies, I think we have had a great exploration of the first part of this. And I really, really do hope, because we have been talking about the emotional and psychological issues around, I'm not going to say aging, this stage that we're at, because I think aging is one of the props we use to aging, I'm infirm, this or that or the other. A lot of people don't have a positive view of aging, and they use that as something to hide behind.
So we transition.
Yeah, it's transition. It's aging. I'm not saying it's not aging.
Yeah, but I like to say life is life, and so I life in.
Exactly. So whatever you choose. And I think we understand that there's a lot that is going on, well, not going on inside of our heads, that we're projecting on the outside, whether it's personal, whether it's family, whether it's how we make decisions or don't make decisions, or throw responsibility to others. And that is important. And these things really impact the second part of our discussion, which we will have next week when we begin to talk about financing, self-advocacy, and planning. So, Maureen, we're not saying bye-bye. We're telling everybody.
See you later.
See you next week, when we
See you
will
next week.
continue
God's still life. Yeah.
this very, very interesting discussion. So, Jennifer, our psychological space, we have to stop looking outward and start looking inward. There's so much that was covered here.
Yeah, and I'm a believer of that. We don't have to add anything else. Maureen said it, I mean, in all different ways, and we need to really pay attention to the discussion, the points that were raised, the suggestions that and Maureen offered, because it affects our lives. It affects our life decisions. How we deal with situations that we're in now, and how to release that fear that some of us, have to deal with on this stage.
Definitely.
So yes.
So remember, stay tuned. You're going to get more information about the forum. And what we want you to do is, based on things, if there are nagging issues that have tickled you over today's discussion, take a note of them. Send a note to Jennifer or I, or me, and we will make sure that we address it in the forum. So see you next week when we go on to the second part of this very interesting program. Great.
50 Plus Tribe and follow us from Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean.
Thank you for joining us on this Connections 50 Plus 5.8G Alive show.
We hope you enjoyed the lively conversation and look forward to seeing you next week.
Don't forget to like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
We really love getting your feedback. Bye for now.